Act natural. There are stealth actors speaking in a coded language all around you. They are at your work, in your schools, and even in your home. Get ready, because today we are going to pull back the veil on this hidden world. If you've ever been around someone who's a gamer, be it tabletop, cards, or video games, then you've probably noticed that, in gaming, there's a special coded language that keeps insiders in the know while making outsiders feel baffled by this barrier to entry. If you're new to the gaming scene or simply want to better connect with a friend or partner who is, stick around because today I'm going to dive into the wacky world of gamerspeak. So settle in, get comfortable, and
Listen! I'm following your lead, I'm following the ceiling. I'm conquering the spirit, I'm busting through the ceiling. Hey, listen!
so WTF is up with all the strange lingo in gaming. Let's unravel the meaning of some of these perplexing terms. Starting off with some of the more silly terminology that you might hear, we have noob and leet. A noob is someone who is new to a game. While this should be pretty straightforward, the term is often also used critically when referring to players who are having a bad game, such as,
Get wrecked, noob!
on the opposite end of the spectrum from noobs are players who are leet. Leet is short for elite, referring to a player of exceptional skill. However, other players who are having bad games may jokingly refer to themselves as leet while being self-deprecating. If a player seems a bit too elite, especially if anticipating an opponent's movements a little too accurately through walls or acting with superhuman speed and accuracy, they may be accused of hacks. Hacking is a cardinal sin amongst gamers, and players caught using hacks will often be ridiculed, kicked from the game, or even permanently
Banned! Yes! Yes! Oh my god!
depending on the judgment of the server's administrators. In modern times, we are blessed with a variety of games, and knowing the terminology for the classifications of these games can be very useful. One of the oldest genres is the platformer. Platforming games require players to traverse the landscape via a series of platforms, thus the name, and comprise the giants that popularized gaming, such as Super Mario Bros., Mega Man, and Castlevania. Next up are role-playing games, or RPGs for short. RPGs come in all shapes and sizes, and are so prevalent that most other game types that we'll discuss technically would also be RPGs. Some notable examples from the role-playing genre are the Monster Hunter franchise, the World of Warcraft, Dungeons & Dragons, as well as their online adaptation in Baldur's Gate, and the Final Fantasy series. Real-time strategy, or RTS games, are another incredibly broad category of games that technically encompass nearly every online game in existence, as there are very few modern multiplayer games that are turn-based. However, when people refer to RTS games, they typically mean the empire-building, resource management-oriented games such as Civilization and StarCraft.
You require more Vespine gas.
A delightful mixture of the previously mentioned categories are MOBAs, multiplayer online battle arenas, where teams of players face off in a strategic battle to capture the enemy's base. Games like League of Legends, Dota, or Heroes of the Storm are popular examples from this genre. Unfortunately, this particular class of games suffers from having a notoriously toxic player base. First-person shooters are often shortened to shooters or FPS, although FPS has fallen out of favor since players don't want to confuse this with the gaming metric of frames per second. These are games in which the player embodies the viewpoint of the protagonist and typically uses firearms to dispatch any foes that they encounter. Yep, this is the land of your Halos, Dooms, Call of Duty, and Overwatch bros. This is also the genre that makes most women believe that men are immature frat boys, and is the genre that's picked up by the news every few years because some politician decides that our nation's gun violence problem is caused by video games.
But that's not what people get out of seeing a John Wick movie. That's not what people get out of playing Call of Duty.
I'm hearing more and more people say the level of violence on video games is really shaping young people's thoughts.
Which we're not going to get into right now, but perhaps that'll be an episode for another day. Dungeon crawlers are games in which players spend the bulk of their time fighting through monster-filled labyrinths to acquire new loot and probably also save the world from some evil villain. Also known as grinding games, both because the protagonists will mulch enemies at a higher rate than a butcher churns out sausage, and also due to the repetitive nature of the actions that the player must perform to reach the next exciting or enjoyable part of the game. The Diablo franchise, Hades, and Cult of the Lamb are all popular examples from this genre. Finally, we have the open world or sandbox games. These games allow the player to roam and explore any part of the world in any order they choose and provide little instruction on what the player's immediate goals are. However, developers will often push players in a certain direction by making the enemies in some areas notably stronger than enemies in other areas. Minecraft, The Witcher 3, and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom are great titles to play if this type of game is your jam. Within all of these genres, there's the way that the developers intended the game to be played, and there are the methods that the fans have found to completely obliterate any obstacle that stands in their way. Players who choose these types of methods are referred to as being overpowered, or OP for short. Many fans enjoy using these broken or OP builds to one-shot kill super bosses or to speedrun their friends through games for some fast leveling. However, game developers aren't always thrilled to see that their meticulously planned out encounters are blown away in record time. When the developers decide to patch a game in a way that targets these specific builds so as to reduce their effectiveness, players refer to this process as getting nerfed. As in, your lethal weapon now hurts about as much as a Nerf dart. GG nerfed builds. To wrap up today's episode, we'll talk about some of the most divisive terms in modern gaming: free-to-play and pay-to-win. F2P is short for free-to-play, while P2W stands for pay-to-win. Free-to-play games theoretically are not a problem, but in practice, most free-to-play games either bombard the player with so many ads that it breaks the immersion of the game, or they're actually pay-to-win games that technically could be played for free, but only if you're willing to spend an obscene amount of time in the game. The most egregious example of this in recent times would be the launch of Diablo Immortal, in which the game would time-gate experience gain for a character who recently leveled to prevent the player from progressing too fast. However, it was quickly calculated that a user would need nearly a decade worth of time to max out just one character while playing for free, and that the microtransactions for maxing out that same character could cost up to $110,000. While changes to Diablo Immortal were made after Blizzard was fined and publicly shamed, many other games, especially gacha games, still have predatory microtransaction policies, so be wary when you wander into an in-game shop. Hopefully this guide helped you out. Let me know what other terms I should find down in the comments below. Please like and subscribe to feed the algorithm and help me make more content. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.